Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad you could join us here on this virtual community meeting to talk about a typical day at Greenvale once we restart school on September 10th in a hybrid model, and of course with some families joining us by fully remote model. I'm Rob Glass, the superintendent, and I have some very special guests and panelists here with us today to help answer your questions. This is a session really about helping build an understanding and get your questions answered. So we have some board members who are here with us today, helping to moderate and field questions that you may have so that our presenters are free to help address those questions. So I'd like to welcome our board president, Sally Beltiti, who's here with us, and Erin Murray on our school board, who's also here with us. Thank you for joining us. And Sally's been on many of these, and so she really is I think, got another career, maybe a third career starting here in moderation. It's been great. And then we have, of course, Principal Dr. Daryl Stinchcomb with us as our primary subject expert today to really help walk you through answer some of the questions you've already submitted ahead of time. Thank you for those. And then joining us, we have our school psychologists from Greenvale, Lindsay Klein and Francesco Bello, who are going to join us and help answer questions that they can provide additional information around. So this is almost the second to the last, I think the 8th out of 9 different sessions that we have done. All of those sessions are available on our new website, eufsdk12.org. And if you go there, you'll be able to find all the recordings of sessions we've done, PowerPoint presentations that have been sent out, including these from Greenvale, but also some that apply to the whole district around teaching and learning, some that apply around the buildings and the grounds, some that have to do with health and safety procedures. So all of that's been provided and is available along with frequently asked questions. So enjoy those and avail yourselves of those. But I think with that, we'll get started and let you know that this session will be recorded as well and posted up there. So Dr. Stinchcomb, thanks for being here and for looking through the questions that have been submitted so far. And I'd like to turn the rest of our time over to you and your team to talk about what's on your mind.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us. Some questions were submitted, and so we'll go through those questions and we'll try to answer any other questions that you may have. I sent out a video last week kind of giving you a walkthrough of how we're preparing here at Greenvale to welcome the students back. And unfortunately, we have to welcome them back in this way and not, the original Greenvale great way. But we'll do the best that we can to make it a great experience for the children and for you as parents and community members as well. So looking at the questions, I'll go through them and then you can submit other questions and we'll try to address those as we progress through the night or afternoon. So the first question is, in other countries, when they re-entered, it seems students were more likely to get injured during PE or other circumstances due to lack of activities staying at home. Does Greenvale plan to take measures to address this issue with warming up exercises? Absolutely. Our physical education teachers and our athletic director are looking into all of the activities that the children will partake in, both in PE classes and during recess time, to make sure that they are properly or appropriately socially distanced and that they have enough space between themselves and the teachers in the classrooms. All of our physical education activities begin with a warm-up session, even before now. I mean, during in past years, before the students partake in any types of physical activity, there's a warm-up session. So we are doing that. But right now, we're also planning to work with the lunch and recess monitors to help during recess to address warming up and making sure that the students are socially distanced. The next question is, what will be expected of them in terms of synchronous learning on Wednesdays? So the teachers and the classroom teachers will give you a schedule, but the beginning of the day on Wednesdays from 8:30 till around about 9 o'clock, the students or the teachers are suggested to have a morning meeting so that the A through L and the M through Z students can all meet together and see each other and kind of go over some things in the classrooms. So from 8:30 till about 9 o'clock, a morning meeting, and then from about 9 to 10 o'clock, the teachers can do small group instruction. The students don't have to stay logged on for that. They can also work with students individually or in small groups during that time as well. And we can also have the teachers check in with students who are having a difficult time. If students are having a difficult time and they need to meet with the school psychologist, we can arrange to have that happen as well. But that afternoon, the teachers are planning. So the morning time is kind of like scheduled, and the teachers will post those schedules in the Google Classrooms to make sure that everyone knows when they are to sign in and to stay signed in. The next question. What are the times that they are expected to be logged on during the remote days? Is it several straight hours? Is there a break? What time is lunch? Are they expected to log back on after lunch, or is the second part of the day asynchronous? So again, the teachers on the days that the students are remote will provide schedules. Most of the logged in time will be in the morning or the morning portion of the day. In the afternoon, it will be mostly asynchronous. We don't want the children to be on the laptops or computers for an extended amount of time, but our ELA blocks will be 90 minutes and our math block will be 60 minutes. And most of that will occur during as we're scheduling and planning it out. The majority of those times, the majority of that time will be in the morning, and then in the afternoon for science and social studies. Maybe they can sign, there will be times that they would have to sign on, but it won't be a straight 5 or 6 hours sitting on the computer. But the classroom teachers will provide the schedules. All of this is being mapped out and planned out as we continue to work towards opening the school. So the teachers will be working on schedules and posting those schedules in the Google Classrooms. Can you please address pickup, drop-off times where a parent has a child in Greenvale and another at Waverly? It really doesn't seem like there's enough time to get both where they need to be on time. Thank you. So the drop-off and pickup times really haven't changed at Greenvale a whole lot. I mean, it really hasn't changed. You're still able to drop the children off at 8:05. So from 8:05 to 8:28 is arrival time. It's different this year that the children will go directly into the classroom. Instructional time won't start until about 8:28, 8:30. So you have that window of 8:05 to 8:28 to get the children here, and it'll just be easier for the children to go straight to the classroom. They'll have like a do now and take attendance and things of that nature. And in the afternoon at dismissal is different here at Greenvale. Well, it's not different. Our time is still 2:45 dismissal. The students are accustomed to doing rapid dismissal at Greenvale, and we'll have that procedure in place where we call the classes up one grade level at a time. But we'll have a faculty member assigned to each classroom. The classroom teacher will take the walkers and car riders to exit to their parents out of the gym door, and the bus riders will be escorted to their buses by the other faculty member that is assigned to that classroom. So Waverly start time is at 8:20. So I'm imagining, or I'm thinking that you have a window of about 8:20 to maybe 10 to 15 minutes after that to get the students there. So you should have about 15 to 20 minutes to get your other child to the other side of town. So it should be okay, I'm thinking. Will cohorts be evenly distributed regardless of first letter classification, presuming that there will be an adjustment to not have 15 students joining the first cohort and 5 on the second? All of the classes are being balanced. I spent the majority of today working on one of the grade levels to make sure that we're trying to balance the classes with even A through L, the number of boys and girls in a classroom, and M through Z, the number of boys and girls in the classroom, and to make sure that that classroom, the numbers and the limits don't go over 14 students per class in each classroom. So we are trying to balance, we are balancing the classes. Can you give us a schedule of what the virtual days will be like, as well as Wednesdays? How many live teaching will happen? What happens if one has questions and they have an IEP? So as I've stated before, the teachers will provide a schedule. The special education teachers with students who have an IEP, those students will more than likely sign on to the special education teacher's Google Classroom, and that teacher will provide a schedule for those IEP students. Also on Wednesdays, those are some of the times that the special education teachers can meet with students who have IEPs. Also during the only time that students would be allowed to not be in their regular classroom with their teacher is during ELA and math, is if they are being pulled or provided services and supports from the special education teacher, an ENL teacher, or an AIS teacher. But for the most part, we want all of the students to have a block of ELA and math uninterrupted. That's the goal, to make sure that they have an uninterrupted block of ELA and math. If there is a miracle and COVID numbers stay low, when can we go back to our children having 5-day instruction? I'm going to turn that question over to our superintendent and our board members to address.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Dr. Stinchcomb. So there are a number of factors that would cause us, like right now, the reason we're in hybrid is because of the social distancing requirement and the regulations that we were given, like the Department of Education, the health department at the state level gave us, really thick documents to go through and to say, these are the guidelines that you should abide by to reopen. And what they said is you should have 6 feet of distance between students, at all times, and you should wear masks. And that alone requires us, with the square footage we have, to reduce the density, and that's why we're in the hybrid model. If we could have students closer together than 6 feet, or if we had more square footage, we would be able to bring everybody back because the rates in the region are low enough. So that's the primary driver. So until, I don't think there's any way for us to get back until this virus really takes a step back, in a broader sense, and until unless the guidance would change. If the science would become more informed and we would get new guidance that said, we think 3 or 4 feet, between students seems to be adequate. We're changing that guideline and still wear masks. Then we could probably bring everybody back and we would have everybody as normal. But until that guidance changes, which will really be driven by either the science or by a change in the larger conditions in the country and in the state, we're going to probably be in this pattern that we're in right now.
Thank you, Dr. Glass. The next question is, why can't opt-in, opt-out of the remote or hybrid model happen after 1 quarter instead of waiting till February? Do you want to address that as well? You kind of addressed it.
Sure. I know you're living this right now. Really, because if we accommodate people changing their minds in midstream in the middle of a marking period, in the middle of a semester, we're going to incur a likelihood of having to break up classrooms. And that would be just a really difficult thing for so many families. So a semester is actually, in my perfect world, I'd like to keep it static for a whole year. But we felt like as we looked at this, when you change at a semester, it's because we're not just looking at elementary, we're looking at applying a rule across the whole system. At the high school, people change, schedules change pretty substantially at the semester time at the secondary level. So it's a natural break time for them. And it would also give students half of the year, with one teacher. And if they had to make a change, it might not be as difficult. But to do that to someone 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in, 6 weeks in is really going to be difficult. So, that was the rationale that drove it. We just were trying to provide as much stability, because if people jump in and out, we will not be able to guarantee a stable situation. We might have to, take one teacher out of a hybrid and go into a fully virtual situation, or vice versa. And when you do those things, it can disrupt, there's a big ripple effect. And we just wanted to limit the potential for that. And if we had to do that to families, then only to do it once after they've had one good solid semester, under their feet.
It's also important to note just the consistency of instruction. You don't want the children to begin with one teacher and then have to stop midstream and pick up that same type of instruction with a different teacher, even though they're pretty much doing the same things. But, we do a lot when we try to, and with trying to, do class placements. I'm still trying to, ensure that the students are, it's a good match between teacher and student, and even some of the students in the classroom. It's difficult, but I'm trying my best. So how will you ensure the classroom windows will remain open, particularly once outside temperatures drop? So our custodians here do a very good job of maintaining and watching the building, and if there's anything happening, they're usually right on it. So when they come in the morning, they do a walkthrough to check the classrooms and stuff like that. So we can make sure that the windows are opened and closed at night and open in the morning. And I also do a walkthrough in the mornings before school starts. So I mean, we'll have systems and things in place to make sure that we're getting some type of ventilation into the classrooms and trying to maintain, the proper environment for the children.
And, I'm just going to jump in there real quick, because I just walked, Dr. Stinchcomb knows, I just saw him a couple hours ago, was walking through his building. And one of the things that I learned is that most of the rooms at Greenvale have a univent system that changes the air in the room 12 times an hour. You get complete change of air 12 times an hour without even opening a window. So you should feel good about that. Window opening, can be an enhancement, but there's quite a bit of air exchange that takes place in most of the rooms in the school. I won't say all, because there are a few that do not have univents, and in those cases, it's really going to be important that the windows, stay open as much as possible. So I thought that statistic might give you some comfort.
Thank you. Next question. Any plan for essential workers' children going to school 5 days since there is no school childcare? So at this time, there is no plan. In order for the school district, and this is just my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, in order for school districts to provide childcare, the governor has to issue a directive in order for us to use those monies in order to do that. So I don't think that we, at this time, there are no plans to provide childcare for essential workers. So I guess I'm right, because nobody corrected me.
You are absolutely correct.
Okay. Will band be happening this year, as decisions need to be made regarding instrument rentals? So band and a lot of the other activities are suspended up until the end of September, because we want to make sure that we're trying to maintain, a germ-free environment. And as you know, when blowing into instruments, that's, extra particles in the air. So we're suspending band until the end of September. And so we will reevaluate that as time goes on. Can you also briefly address what the fully remote schedule will look like? So it will be very similar to the hybrid model. We won't have the children on the computer with, in these 5 and 6 hour spans, but the remote classroom teachers will issue schedules. Again, the ELA and math portions of the day will be in the morning. On the schedule, it will show to what time lunch is, and it will show the other special areas. And then when the children need to log back on to do maybe social studies or science, or if that teacher needs to work with several students in a small group. So schedules will be provided, so the children will be well prepared, and after a while, they will be accustomed to, when they need to sign on and how they need to sign on. So let me say that a lot of preparation will take place. Our teachers are very good about, establishing rituals and routines and protocols for our students. Our students are very independent. I know that some of, our parents may think, well, they're second grade, but once our second graders get here and they get accustomed to the rituals and routines and how things operate, they fall right in line. And we will make sure that we front load all of this information on those first 2 or 3 weeks of school to ensure that the students know what they're able to do and their responsibility. And the teachers will help to establish these rituals and routines. The last question that I have is, can we discuss the bus situation? I'm not exactly sure what the bus situation is. If anybody is, I'm not sure what the bus situation is.
I think, I'm going to take a guess. Most of the questions that we've had around transportation have had to do with, how many students will be on the bus, when will I know the runs, and where the stops are, and just some unknowns around that. If you haven't already, there was a session posted on our website that was done twice. We got partway through a transportation session and we lost power. So we finished that session up last Wednesday, and that's posted on our website. And you can get most of those answers there from our transportation director. It is looking like about one child per seat. And I know that's not 6 feet apart. If we were to try to get 6 feet of distance on buses, we would have about 8 or 9 students on a bus. And, we cannot increase the number of buses we have because buses are simply not available, nor are drivers available. We subcontract with our carrier for student, and they're just not able to add runs. So we have a fixed number of buses available to us to get children to school. And, based on the surveys we sent out to try to figure out who's planning to ride and where they live, we're trying to optimize to get, everybody to school on time, but also to optimize for, the lowest average ridership on a bus that we can possibly get. And right now we're thinking about 1 per seat. It could be some runs where it could be 2 per seat. If it's a sibling, we're asking siblings to ride side by side if they're from the same household, because that allows us to get a few more students perhaps on the bus. And so that is the situation. The windows will be open. The escape hatch vents and the roof will be open during the better weather. Hand sanitizers will be available on the bus, and students will be able to carry them on the bus, which is a change in the law that is new. And we'll get the routes out to you as soon as we can. But this is a big, much like Dr. Stinchcomb is putting together, class placements, it is the same thing occurring with ridership, trying to determine who's riding and get an accurate count and get everything, planned and to you. So that's about all I can tell you about busing at this time. If you have a different question on busing, and if you haven't watched the seminar that we did, I would invite you to watch that, or you can submit a question and we'll try to answer it here today if we have time.
Okay. So those are all of the questions that I have.
Okay. Well, with that, thank you, Dr. Stinchcomb, and thank you to everybody who submitted those questions they have. We have had some come through on the chat. If you, I'm sorry, I neglected to mention, if you have a question, please submit it by using the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. And we'll be, I'm going to be asking our board members if they will pose those questions.
All right, I can start, Erin, if you don't mind, and then you want to watch. Okay. So one of the first questions we had, and I think it came up more than one time, is will there be an orientation or a chance for new students and families to familiarize themselves with the school building?
So there will not be an orientation. We have to limit the number and the amount of people who are in the buildings, and also the spaces in the building for the new student or for students will be introduced to the students during the first couple of weeks of school. A lot of the spaces in the building, the cafeteria and besides the gym and the art room and all of those peripheral places will not be used for their intended purposes. They will be classrooms. So it would just essentially be coming into the building and looking at spaces that will not be utilized for their intended purposes. But rest assured that like our second graders, I know normally we have an orientation. I would have met the parents by now and I would have met the students by now. But we will orient our students to Greenvale School, and the teachers will provide curricular information to parents via videos for open house and things of that nature.
All right, thank you. Someone said they ordered supplies through the AHARTS but have opted for full remote learning. Will they have the opportunity to retrieve those supplies?
Yes, PTA is working on that now, establishing when those parents will be able to come in and retrieve those items.
When and how can my son ask questions when he's learning asynchronously?
So unfortunately, the children will not be able to ask questions. The teachers won't be able to interact with them via the simulcast. But the next day, it is suggested that the teachers have a review session before beginning the lesson to, kind of clear up any of the questions or answer any of the questions that the students may have had, from the previous lesson.
This is kind of like a two-part question because the same person kind of relates to the same thing. It says, can we upgrade classrooms without univents? We could buy purifiers, and then it says parents, and then it says, what about PPE N99 masks for those classes?
I think I'll jump in here on this one. So, the overriding principle here is to try to get fresh air into the building. That's what the recommendations are really pointing to. Yes, they say, if you can to, improve filtration. The problem is our univents can't, what they want you to have is what's known as a MERV 13 filter if you're going to do it. And even our univents can't accommodate a MERV 13 because a MERV 13 is so dense that the air doesn't move through it well and it will burn out the motors. So we're going to put in there the highest filters we can, which will be MERV, I want to say like 6 or 7. And we will provide, there's a lot of fresh air, coming into those spaces. And, that we have a mechanical engineer who's walked our buildings, a third party yesterday, and he'll be providing a report to us about everything we can do to maximize, the situation under the guidelines. So we'll be taking those recommendations. We've already taken a lot of them. You have to realize that if you have lead time, expense, and electrical load that all goes with putting in purifiers in rooms. And, all the electrical systems in these older buildings are not necessarily equipped to handle that at scale. And there is even a whole theory around, the fact that these purifiers will not necessarily get everything, and they're actually moving air in purposes that work against some of the systems already in place, where you want to move air in a pattern predictably, get fresh air in, exhaust air out. When you put these other units in there that aren't necessarily even filtering everything, or they're moving particles across the room in other patterns, it creates some other issues. So we're not placing those units in there unless they're indicated by our mechanical engineers, and you should feel assured that everything that's being done is maximizing what is available to us right now.
Thank you. Prior to COVID, students needing to visit the school nurse would often be accompanied by a class peer. Now, who will assist 6 students to the nurse office and will monitor come to the classroom? I think that would mean maybe if the teacher went.
We're putting systems in place so that the nurse clerk, the health office clerk, the teachers will call down to the nurse's office and to indicate, how the situation with the students. And depending on what it is, the health office clerk will assist the student either through the main office, nurse's office, or if it's COVID related or believed to be COVID related, they will go through a separate entrance, which is between the computer lab and the main office. So there are systems in place for that, and the teachers will be briefed on that and given, those procedures once school starts.
Thank you. Can you shed some more light on how test taking and grading will work now?
So we're going to, that is something that we're still working on, how to make sure, how to test students in a virtual environment, but for those students who are remote, but those students who are on the hybrid model, they can be tested when they're here. The state is still in the position of determining whether or not, or it is believed that we will have state testing. So those are things that we will have to work out under the guidance of the New York State Department of Education.
Okay, there's a Chromebook question, and then I saw some more down on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Why does my third grade child need a Chromebook for in-class sessions, and do children need to bring their Chromebooks back and forth or their devices back and forth each day?
Yeah, it would be suggested that they do a lot of the work, even before COVID, the children did a lot of work on Chromebooks. They set up projects, they did classwork, they did assignments using that. So, and I'm not going to jump ahead and speak for the teachers. There may be days that the teachers don't require that they bring the device to school. So I would say just let's play that out. But for now, I think it would be ideal to have them bring it back and forth. And in the event that everyone goes remote, they will have the device with them, and they'll have all of their materials as well.
For the fully virtual option, will the children be able to do any learning off the computer? For example, using notebooks or printouts so they're not online for so long?
Yes, they will. They will not be online for an extended period of, an overextended period of time. So we have to kind of like quantify when we say, how long will they be on? But they will definitely be on for an hour, for 90 minutes for ELA. And so when we say be on, they won't necessarily be on continuously. The teachers will deliver the lesson in a mini lesson and then give the students the opportunity to work on the assignment and then bring them back together after they've worked on the assignment and close out the lesson. And then the same way with math, the lesson is introduced, the children are asked to, work on some problems and then the teacher will ask the students to kind of like focus back on me as opposed to just sitting there staring at the screen. So it won't be the children are sitting there just staring at the screen. There will be down times.
There's a few questions that have to do with drop-off and pick-up. Will there be staggered dismissals during rapid dismissal? Who will be guiding the students in the morning to their classrooms? And can you provide some more information to first-time Greenvale parents on drop-off procedures and location? So
our drop-off procedures, the car riders are dropped off on Racino Drive at the bottom of the driveway. We ask that they not enter into the driveway because the buses need to come in. So for arrival, we have changed our arrival dismissal. It was usually that the buses would pull into the driveway and unload and everybody comes in at the same time. But we have designated that myself, Megan O'Sullivan, who is my lead teacher, and Enrique, who is my head custodian, I will be in the center of the driveway and Enrique will be on the end towards where the gym is, and Megan O'Sullivan will be on the far side of the driveway near the playground. And the buses that enter on that side the children will unload off of that bus and will be guided in by Miss O'Sullivan and other faculty and staff members who will be at that door leading in from the playground or from the blacktop into the building. And we will have faculty and staff members in the building to guide and direct the students as to where they need to be. The teachers will be at their doors with their signs welcoming the students in. I will be in the center, and the buses that unload at the center, I'll help guide those students in. And the security agent will be at the top of the stairs, and there will be other faculty and staff members in the building as well. And the same way with the side where Enrique will be standing, will be positioned. There will be faculty and staff members at that door guiding those students into the building. So there will be 3 entrances for arrival in the morning. And we will have faculty and staff members throughout the building to help guide the students as to where they need to be, especially, you know, the first two or 3 weeks of school, once we establish the rituals and routines. Dismissal, when I say rapid dismissal, it is kind of staggered because we call for the second grade students to come up to dismiss. No other classes are in the hallway and the hallways are quiet. And so when you say staggered, like I said, the classroom teachers will escort the students, the walkers, to the gym side of the building, and the other faculty and staff member who is assigned to those classrooms will escort the students out of the playground entrance or the blacktop exit, and they will distribute the students. And then once we get a sense that, you know, second grade is pretty much done, then I'll call for the third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade, and it'll follow that same procedure. Our students are really accustomed to doing it. It runs really, really well. The only difference is that they'll be spaced out a lot more.
Just to follow up with that real quick, do parents get out of the car with their children and walk them to the door, or will the teachers greet the walkers on Racino Drive?
The teachers won't greet the students on Racino Drive, but like the three of us will be out front. We ask that you drop the students off, and the first 2 or 3 days, I'm sure there will be we'll have extra faculty and staff members outside, but once the children get inside the building, we will have people who will direct them to their classroom. So please do not get out of your cars, because that will back it up, and it will take forever for us to do arrival. And I know that everyone is concerned, but we will do our best to make sure that every child gets to where they need to be. We do that every school year. And usually during the first 2 or 3 days, the Greenvale PTA assists us, especially with the second grade students, in making sure they know where they are and where they need to go, and make sure we'll send out name tags for you to fill out, and that they wear their name tags every day, and then we'll, you know, tell them, we'll be able to direct them as to where they need to go.
There's a lot of questions about new students, so either as a second grader or even coming to the school as a third grader. A few questions about maybe pictures of the teachers with and without their masks on. Is there a PTA liaison, or should they reach out, maybe talk to someone in the PTA to maybe feel a little bit more familiar with something, get more information? So.
Yeah, I know that there have been some questions about that. I know that Waverly was able to do that. It's just difficult. It's, you know, during the summertime to get in touch with some teachers. They're away, but we can try to take pictures of the teachers with their mask and without their mask, and kind of like post it on our web page. We'll try to, you know, get that done, but it's kind of difficult to do. I've tried to do it, but we'll try to do that. That's all I can say.
Then we have about 4 questions, right, that just came in about the temperature checks, the forms, and the phone. So basically, like, how are you managing the app check-in during drop-off walkers? How would you check from there if it was complete, if no one's meeting the walkers? How can you give more information on how the app is used? Can a parent pull up and drop off their kid and show you their phone? Do they need to print it out? So a bunch about that temperature and the app.
You want to answer that? Go ahead about the app. The app is, so we're hoping that everyone will, you know, just work with us and complete the questionnaire, so that we don't, and what will happen is that I'll get a report in the morning, and all of the people who are stationed outside will be able to determine if some students have not, if parents have not completed the app, and then we'll try to catch those students. But I'm going to assign someone if I'm not able to be down at the drop off for the parents to check the applications on the phones. If it's not me, it'll be one of the teachers who have been assigned to work the morning duty for buses for arrival. Now, the usage of the app that's something that, you know, I don't know how to tell people how to use it.
Yeah, I can provide a little bit more information. We will be providing some information on our website, a tutorial about how to use the app. I think you'll find it to be pretty intuitive. You just you work on your phone. You take your child's temperature every morning they're coming in, right? This is just really on the days they're in school, right? And taking their temperature, answering those questions, and submitting that in. I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to send you a push notification in the morning. So you'll automatically get a reminder when you wake up. Oh, okay, I got to remember to take temperature, answer these questions. You do that on your phone. You can take a screenshot of that. You can do that on your computer. You can do that on your phone. You can print that. It's good if you can print that and bring it with, or if at all, if you have any interaction, just based on the description Dr. Stinchcomb is giving, like at Waverly, I know there's an opportunity to show as you're dropping the child off. I don't know if that same opportunity is going to avail itself here, but what we're looking for is a ticket in the door of either a screenshot with it'll be a color-coded screen on your phone that'll have the date and the timestamp, and we're looking for some kind of verification, that or printing. And even if we don't have that, we're going to take temperature regardless. So then we'll go back and follow up and ask you to complete the form. It's really, as Dr. Stinchcomb led with, this is our responsibility together. Like, managing the spread of this thing this is part of what we're asking families to do for the benefit of all, and it's going to be really important to do it. I know many of you have to do it for workplaces. I have to do it at the workplace. All the teachers will have to do it. We really need you to do this with your students so that we can ensure that we're catching everything we can.
I have two questions that are a little bit similar, but I'll read them both, but I think they go hand in hand. Will children who've opted out of the hybrid instead of doing all remote have any back and forth interaction with their teachers, or will they simply be viewing the simulcast for the rest of the class? And then basically, is the cohort from at home just watching streamed lessons in the classroom? Similar.
Okay, so the first part, as I stated before, that the children will participate in the lesson. They won't be able to interact with the teacher, but they will be doing the assignments that the teacher, because the assignments will be posted in Google Classroom. So when they sign on, they'll see the assignments for the day, and the teacher will go through that assignment. So the children will be able to participate. Will be asked to, complete the assignments. And what was the second part, Sally? I'm sorry.
The second part was, hold on, I'm getting right back to it. Oh no. Sorry. Will the cohort that's at home log in and watch stream lessons from the classroom?
In the hybrid model, yes. But in the remote model, they will be with the teacher, the teacher. But yes, they will.
When will students be able to pick up their textbooks and their Chromebooks? So if they've requested a device, or when will they be able to pick up their textbooks if they're all remote?
So we will have to establish some times for them to pick up the textbooks or any materials that they will need. I know that Mr. Blum has sent out a survey and is contacting and establishing times for parents to pick up the devices.
And, sorry, Aaron, did you want to? No? Okay. Okay. So when do you feel that the teacher assignments will be out?
Okay. So, I'm pretty much finished with the assignments today. We're still looking over and checking to make sure. We're still getting parents who are opting out, and that actually changes the spread of the students to balance the students. So we haven't been given a hard deadline as to when to have those available, but we are continually working on those, and I should be finished with mine by Monday. But I'm not exactly sure when we're going to send them out as a district, because we also need to Waverly and Ann Hutch they need to be finished with theirs as well, because that has an impact on students that we share. So there's no definitive date, but it's soon.
So a few more questions are coming in about the app. I just feel like, Dr. Glass, just correct me if I'm wrong. there's going to be more information posted online, correct? Once the app information's out, and then once the app is available, you'll be able to understand it a bit more. But right now, if we explain more of it, we're kind of talking about something that we can't see. You can't go on to it. You can't look at it, correct? So there'll be more information once the app is available?
Correct. There will be a tutorial available on the app, and the app will be available to practice with. So yeah, it's just, we've been examining, all the best apps out there for this purpose, and we finally, decided on one, and now we just have to get it set up and get that out to you. So, we'll have that out fairly shortly to you, and we'll have that posted on our website.
About what percentage and number of Greenvale students have opted to go fully remote? And if you're fully remote, well, actually, if you're the question was if you're hybrid and you don't feel comfortable, can you switch to fully remote?
All right, so I don't have the percentage or the percentage of students who have gone fully remote, but we have approximately 110, 115 students, grades 2 through 5, who have opted to go remote. I know there are 35 at this point, 35 in the 5th grade and 35 in the 3rd, about 22 in the 2nd, and I'm not exactly sure the number on the 4th grade students. The difficulty, as Dr. Glass explained at the beginning, is that if you're in hybrid and you want to go remote, and you're in remote and you want to go to hybrid, that throws off the balance of the numbers of the students in the classroom. That breaks down the consistency of instruction for the student. So it causes a lot of problems, and then they're going to be switching from teacher to teacher. So if you go out of hybrid and you go out of remote and you come into hybrid, and then you have a teacher, and then if we all go fully remote at some point, then you're going to have the kids will probably have another teacher change. So it really wouldn't make sense. You need parents need to kind of like commit to one of them and try to kind of like last out. I mean, kind of like, get through it to see what we can do. So it's just difficult. It makes it very difficult to go in and out of the different models.
This question has come up on every building Zoom. How will lockdown drills and fire drills take place this year, and will they?
So we do, by law, we do have to have fire drills and we have to have lockdown drills. We're just going to have to do it in a different way. We're going to have to, kind of like walk the children through how it needs to be done in this type of environment initially, and then, have some conversations and explain to the children that in a real scenario, in a real case, this isn't how we do it. This is how we do it. But we are still going to have to practice. We're going to have to walk them through where they need to go and how they would need to position themselves. And then fire drills, we can do fire drills and socially distance the children. It's just going to take a little bit more time. And those are things that we're going to have to practice, and things that we're going to have to get used to. But we also have to think about it in an emergency situation. People aren't going to be socially distanced, but because these are drills, we're going to have to show the children how to be safe, and we have to do it in a very practical way. So there are ways that we're going to have to do it, and they will be done. Sorry.
Can parents request a class syllabus at the elementary level?
We haven't required the teachers in Eastchester to provide syllabus. So that's something that we would have to have a conversation with the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction and the union. I'm not so sure about how that will play out, but the teachers will provide the parents with curriculum information, like I said, on our open house videos, and all of that information, the curriculum information is online at the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction on his webpage. So we do have all of that information, and everything is open, but requiring a syllabus like in a high school or in a college, we haven't done that in the past at the elementary school level.
Is there a max number of students in a fully remote teacher will have? So like you said, there's about 14 students correct? And then will there be a max that the remote teacher will have?
That hasn't been established yet. We're still in conversation with the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction and Dr. Glass in regards to those virtual classes. So we're still working on that.
Okay. So I think I touched on, wait, there was another one that, I haven't received confirmation for my remote learning request. How can I make sure my request is received? The home access portal has not updated this information.
They can just email me. I can tell them whether or not we've received their request. I have a list of all of the students who have gone remote. So if they email me, dstinchcomb@eufsdk12.org, and I'll reply to them as to whether or not we have them down as remote.
And if you have submitted on our online form for the fully remote, you were received in. So, you should assume that you're in. We did not set that form for a verification back. We could have and probably should have, so apologize for that. But unless there was a technical glitch, if you requested it, you're on there. So if you want to make sure there was no technical glitch, just email the principal.
So there are a few more questions that have to do with the temperature taking process. People feel it's very hard to believe that every child be vetted outdoors before entering the building, if they completed the forms. So there seems to be a lot of concern about this. So again, would this just be described better once the app is available?
Before Dr. Glass answers it, I would just like to, we're going to do our very best to make sure that we kind of like capture all of the students who have not submitted the form. We're going to try our best to make it safe for all students. The likelihood of someone getting into the building, it may happen, but we're going to do our very best. So that's why we're asking the parents to do their part. It's incumbent upon you to ensure that you fill out the questionnaire. We have to fill it out we've had to fill it out every day. And I will admit, I've forgotten several times, but now I've gotten into the routine or the habit of, that's the first thing I have to do in the morning. I have to fill out this form, submit it, and then I move on. But we'll do our very best in order to vet those students before they get into the building, and to ensure that they have filled out the questionnaire and that their temperature has been taken. But the app part of it, Dr. Glass.
Okay.
Let me just see if I can clarify. So the app is just on your phone, right? It's going to get pushed to you, and you can either do it on your computer or on your phone. You're going to answer the questions. We're going to make it as simple and streamlined as possible. You need to just verify you took the temperature and it was less than 100. Were you in contact with anybody who's diagnosed with COVID? It's questions like that, right? You're going to go answer them. You're going to hit submit. It's going to give you a green screen with the name and date on it, or it's going to give you a red screen that says you didn't, you answered no to one of those questions. Then, since your child can't carry a phone, right, or isn't going to be carrying a phone, if there's an opportunity for you to interact on the drop-off and show that, that's what we're looking for. If you, or you can just print it out every day. I know that's a bit of a burden, but you can do a screenshot and print it right out and send it to us. And when we see that, we're not going to take your temperature. We're going to take your word for it that you did it. It's just a ticket in, right? If we don't see a ticket in, which is either the screen or the printout, we're going to take that child's temperature, take them to class, and also we'll have, printed out verification. We'll know who's who and who's done it and who hasn't. We want to be realistic that, we may or may not be able to catch them right at that moment, especially when we're learning new children coming in. So if we're unsure, we're taking temperature, which is important, right? Students are migrating in. So the app is really, is going to be very simple and easy to use. It's just a matter of, how are we going to be able to see that verification? If we can't see it ahead of time, we will take the temperature and we will follow up immediately thereafter. I don't know if that, I don't know, exactly where we're not being clear. So if I'm just restating what I said before and that's not helpful, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to understand, more about where the confusion lies.
Okay, so we're going to once we're finished with the Zoom, we're gonna cut and paste all the questions in the chat. So if you do, maybe we could reach out, or they can go on the frequently asked questions. Also, if you don't feel your question's being answered and you'd like to be more specific, because at this point you can just type in your questions, then you can contact the school and someone will help you. So just, those are other options. Maybe what is coming across in the way that I'm reading it out is not really what you want to be saying at that point, which means hopefully you will contact the school about that. Okay, we have a few more coming in. Erin, I might have missed some because I was trying to answer someone.
The only one that I saw that I thought you might not have seen was, how are absences being recorded? If your child has to stay home for a fever, can they then take classes online that day? And does that count as an absence?
No. If your child stays at home and they sign in on the and they're in the hybrid, or if they're in the remote, they are at home. But if they're in the hybrid model and they stay at home, they can log on and watch the simulcast, and that won't be counted as an absence because they're still working.
Okay. A lot of people are asking if there could be a virtual tour of the school or pictures of the classrooms, or be notified if their child is going to be in a cafeteria instead of a traditional classroom.
So right now at this time, all of the students are scheduled to have lunch in the classroom. The reason why we don't, for safety reasons, we don't video the insides of our schools and the insides of the classroom. If that's something that the superintendent wants us to do, we can do that. But we don't really videotape the insides of our building for safety reasons.
That's exactly right, Dr. Stinchcomb. And I know this is something that was asked for earlier on, and we talked about doing it, you probably recall.
Yeah.
And we were all set to do it, and then we decided not to do it for safety reasons. Now we can show you, a sample classroom if you want to see what the distancing is like and things like that, but we really can't get into showing individual areas of the building. And I know that sounds, like a minor thing, but we can't give any advantage to any bad actors at this point. We are going to keep our students as safe as we can.
So along those lines, I also want to say that while we're in these different types of models, we do have to still maintain safety. So, I mean, we talk about we have to limit the number of classrooms that can take place outside, because I'm concerned that, anybody can walk up and, I just have an issue with that. So we're going to do and be as flexible as we possibly can, but we still have to maintain safety here at Greenvale. Opening up 3 doors in the morning for students to enter in, that's a concern for me, but I'm going to try to make sure that we have enough staff to kind of like to be at those doors and to be inside the building. So we still have to maintain safety here. We still have to kind of like vet people who come in. One of the questions, this question hasn't come up, but even parents coming to the building and visiting the building or dropping things off at the building, you're going to have to go through a series of questions. The procedure is going to be different. You'll probably become irritated. If it's raining, you're going to be outside of the building answering questions to get inside of the building. But you have to understand that, these are children, these are your children, and we have to maintain safety. So we ask for your patience, and we ask for your support in the things that we're trying to do and trying to put into place. So when we talk about orientations and taking pictures of the classrooms and stuff like that, we have to make sure that we're keeping the children safe once we get them in here and, provide a safe environment for them once they're here. So.
There's been a question about how would related services working. So I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong while I say it, I would assume like speech or OT or PT. How are those working? When will the children receive that?
So those, like I said, the only time that children can really be pulled out of an ELA or a math block is with one of those particular services. But those service providers will provide a schedule for those students as well. Wednesdays are going to also be a great be time for the service providers to work with students, and in the afternoons on the days that the students are here, and in the afternoons when the students are remote. So they will get their services.
Erin, sorry, I jumped out for a second. All right. Oh, it is unclear about how and when kids would take mass breaks. How would that look, and how is the school going to prevent the spread of germs in these areas?
So the teachers are going to be asked to provide either an area in the classroom or right outside of the classroom to provide mask breaks. And it's the same way during recess and during lunch. The children are they can't wear the mask during lunch. So we're going to have to, they will be socially distanced, but they will be allowed to remove their masks. So if children are, and we're talking about elementary school students in 2nd through 5th grade, our 2nd graders, by now a lot of them are accustomed to wearing masks, but not for an extended period of time. So if a teacher is teaching a lesson and they're here and they look over and they notice that Johnny's having a difficult time with his mask, it's okay for them to say, Johnny, you can step out into the hallway or into this particular area and take a mask break. But those rituals and routines and protocols are going to have to be established in the classrooms. So what we're going to do is we're going to try our best to maintain a clean and safe environment. The custodians are cleaning every night, they're disinfecting, and even during the lunch, after the lunch break, the students are leaving the classrooms. The custodians will come in, clean and disinfect the desks with the students outside of the classrooms. And if it's outdoor recess, the students will be escorted outside, but the children will not be allowed back into the classrooms until the custodians have cleaned and disinfected the classrooms.
Okay. The children are in the classroom space 6 feet apart. Why is it also necessary for them to wear a mask?
Those are the guidelines that are set by the State Department, the Health Department. So those are things that we have to abide by, that they wear masks.
Will small group instruction take place during the school day, example, guided reading? And if not, because of social distancing, how will student individual reading needs be met?
So the teachers will be equipped with not only a mask, but a shield. And we're also going to establish in some of the classrooms desks with barriers with plexiglass so that the teachers can provide some type of small group instruction. Is it going to be difficult? Yes, but we're going to do our best. The thing about it is that we're working with small children and we're working with elementary school students, and the teachers, and this is their concern, they're going to have to be in close proximity to the students. And so we're going to have to try to protect them the best way that we know how. We're going to provide them with masks and shields, and we're going to put all of these things in place. So we're going to we'll do our best to meet the needs of the students. Our teachers are really good at that. And those are their concerns as well. So we're just going to have to make it work. We have no choice.
There's 2 questions that have to do with basically like the nurse's office and sick, which I do think are answered on the health and safety. I might be using the wrong term, but the health one that one of our school nurses, Dr. Urso, and our school doctor were on. But they are, what happens if a child's staff is thought to have symptoms of COVID, and do children need a doctor's note to return to school anytime if they're absent? What if I just keep my child home because they had a bad night of sleep or have something due to his allergies? Is a doctor's note required or a note from the parent acceptable? So basically it's just like both questions have to do with if people are sick, COVID, not COVID, what are the ways to...
So if it's COVID related and the child needs to come back to school, a note needs to, we do need a doctor's note. But if, so I think it's important that we establish the relationship, that the parents establish the relationship with those of those students who have major allergies. And for the most part, the nurse knows which students. So when you call in an absence for a student at Greenvale, you call the nurse's office and you tell the nurse, this is Miss Johnson. Jerry's not coming to school today because he has an allergy flare up. And the nurse will provide you and tell you all of the things that you need to do in order to, all the things that you will need in order to come back to school. So it's establishing that type of relationship. But anything like COVID related, we're going to need we're going to need a note from the doctor saying that, yes, Jerry was seen in the office today. He doesn't have COVID. He has allergies, and then the child will be admitted back into school. But like you said, all of those questions are answered on the health and safety website. But yes.
Yeah, there's a few more questions that are coming in about staff and students taking COVID tests prior to coming to school. Will they be tested? How long will we get notified if someone in the class is infected? So those questions I'm pretty sure are answered on that other Zoom call. So, and on the frequently asked questions section. I also just cut and paste them into our log that we have, so if they're not answered, they can be answered and then put on the frequently asked questions section.
And also, if you go in and look at our plan is 40 pages, but right at the beginning at the table of contents, if you go there and click on the health and safety section, it'll take you right down to page 20, which is where that all starts. And that's all laid out, and we're updating it all the time. So that's a really good place to go to get the detail. But yes, you're going to need a note to come back to school for any illness. Unless we already know, it's verified through the student, through the school nurse or something, that it's an allergy situation. Yeah, we're going to have a pretty tough threshold for people coming back. You're going to need to verify, even if it's a non-COVID, we're going to need to see more documentation. And if a student is diagnosed with something in school and they go down to the nurse, there's a whole procedure for, going into one room if they believe it could be COVID related, and if it's just run of the mill, skin knee or something, going into, the nurse's office. So all that's going to be is all laid out there. And, I wanted to give you some information, but to really don't have the time in this session to go any deeper into it. You really would be better served by going to our website and looking up the resources that are there.
Do the teachers at Greenvale have a separate supply list in addition to the AHERD slits that went out? And I might be saying that wrong, but.
So in regular cases, in a regular, normal, yes, that would be the case. So I know that parents are concerned about getting supplies, and, those are the things that they do. The children will be okay as far as supplies are concerned, and we will get, if there's a separate list, children won't be penalized for not having a green folder or for not having a pencil. We'll make sure that everybody will be covered. And I understand that, you want to get out and you want to get those supplies and things. But right now, the focus is like making sure that we get the children into the school and get them in safely and are able to provide a rigorous curriculum and instruction for the students. But that being said, I will have the teachers, when I meet with them, I will have the grade levels post any supplies that you will need. Now, I know that the art, children are not going to be able to share art supplies for the art class, but I spoke with the art teacher and I told her that, once the children are in your art class, you can send a letter home to the parents and let the parents know that these supplies will be needed for art class this school year, and it won't be, a big issue for us here.
Okay, so it's about our time that we wrap up every time at the end of the presentation and the Zoom. So I'd like to thank our panelists for joining us today. I thank you very much. We have a lot of people also writing in. Thank you for working on all of this and helping our children return safely. So I just wanted to make sure you saw that. So thank you, everyone. Thank you all for participating with us. Again, I've cut and pasted every question that has come in so far. So if your questions weren't answered and there's something that is not answered on the website, we'll hopefully be able to get the answer up. Also, I think there was maybe one or two questions that maybe didn't come through on how it was written, how it came out, and it could be my fault. So I'm sorry. So if you had a question, please reach out to the schools or to the administration. to anyone on the Zoom, and we can get you the answer in some sort of way. So thank you all very much. Really looking forward to starting out the next school year. Thank you to everyone, the teachers, the administration, for all of your hard work on this. And parents, we're all in this together. Students, board, everyone's in it together. No one's ever done this, so we're all gonna do our best. Yeah, so thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you soon.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.